Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make this over-the-rod hanging basket. It's a really great solution if you happen to have, like I do, some towel bars but not a lot of hooks, especially in a bathroom, something like that. Obviously I'm using this one to use or to hold my brushes and combs and things, but you could, put a variety of items in there. Basically it just, wraps around this and secures with buttons. And it's really great. It's a good size. It holds quite a bit. This is the first of a 3-part set of hanging baskets that I've made. And I'm actually putting the set pattern, if you want a downloadable pattern, up on Ravelry. I'll have links there. If you just want the written pattern as I normally do on my website, you can find that there as well. I'll have all of the links and everything down in the description bar. If you like this video, of course, please like and subscribe and all of that fun stuff. I'd love to hear what you do with these. So be sure to leave a comment. To make this basket, you're going to need the following. First, you'll need your crochet hook. This is a size J or a 6mm hook. The letter is not written on this one, but it is a J. You'll need a tapestry needle, a pair of scissors, a tape measure that's optional, some buttons, just 2 buttons. I guess you could put more if you want to or less, but 2 buttons, and just make sure that the eye of your needle goes through the button holes. And then the yarn. I am using Bernat Maker Home Deck, I guess it's short for home decor. The colorway is Aqua. It is listed as a 5 bulky, and it does call for an 8mm or an L hook. We're obviously using something a little bit smaller than that. But if you want to substitute, that's fine. Just kind of keep in mind that, make something that's kind of the same. And it is 72% cotton, 28% nylon. It's that t-shirt yarn that, well, except it's made in a tube. It's not just strips cut where they curl on their own. So if you look, you can see it's got like a knit texture. If you know how to knit, it's kind of like a very tiny gauged I-cord. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with a magic ring. And so to do that, you just take your yarn, wrap it around your finger like that. Take your hook, go under this strand, pull this one under, and then you will do a chain. So yarn over, pull through. Now on this pattern, the first, the little chain here, the chain up does not count as one of your stitches, and that's just how it is for the rest of this pattern as well. So now we're going to do 8 half double crochets into this loop. So to do that, you just yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. You should have 3 loops there. You'll yarn over, pull through all 3. So again, yarn over, pull through all 3. Now with this yarn, sometimes you do have to kind of wiggle your hook there to get it in, but it's primarily because we are using a smaller hook than it typically would call for, so it's going to be a little bit more fiddly. All right, keep going. Now if this starts getting in your way, just go ahead and pull it a little bit just to kind of get it out of the way, but just keep on going. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've done 7, and then we do 8. Okay, and then you can count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then remember that this first little thing right here does not count. So if you want to, you can count the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you count like these bumps down here, the one in the forward. Okay, and then to close this, so we can actually have a circle, you will just pull on the end, the loose end, of course, the one that's not attached to your yarn ball. All right, and then we are going to join with a slip stitch into the first one. Now, if you have a trouble keeping, which one is the first one in mind, you can, of course, use a stitch marker into that, but you shouldn't need it for this pattern. All right, so this is the first one here. And if you need to, you can count back, but this is the first one. So you're going to insert your hook through both of these loops here, so into the whole top of the stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then you pull through the loop on your hook as well. Okay, and now we have done, that was the first round. Okay, now for the second round, you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to do 2 half double crochets into each stitch. Okay, so the stitch that you went into first with your slip stitch, that was the first stitch, so that's where we're going to go into now. So you yarn over, you're going to insert your hook back into that same stitch and do 2 half double crochets. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and do the same thing into the same stitch. Okay, and then we're just going to continue to do 2 into each one around. And I'm going to go ahead and finish this round up, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've not done the last 2 half double crochets in this round. I wanted to show you just so that way you remember. So when you look at this, you may go, oh no, I have 2 that I need to do. Well, if you counted your stitches, you'll notice at this point you should have 14 half double crochets. This round should only have 16, so that would of course give you more than if you did in both these stitches. Now it does look like that, but this is actually the base from that slip stitch that we did. So even though it looks like that's where you'd go, you will not. You go here and do 2 into 1, like we've been doing all along in this round. Okay, and then we do not do anything else into this stitch. Okay, to close this round, we just slip stitch into the first half double crochet. So this is the first one here, where this V is right there. So we'll go right there. And then you yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook as well. And you've done a slip stitch. Again, like I mentioned, when you do those chain 1 to chain, like to step up, those do not count in this pattern. Okay, so now we're going to do round 3. It is chain 1. Again, this does not count as a stitch. And then we're going to do 2 half double crochets into the first stitch, the same stitch that we did the slip stitch into. I bumped the camera. Okay, and then in the next stitch, we're going to do 1. This is the next stitch right here. So you may, like you saw me have to pull that over a little bit. Sometimes it does kind of cover it. But if you look here, you can see the whole stitch, the base and the top. Now we're going to do 1 half double crochet into that. And then the next one, we're going to do 2. Into the same stitch. And then the next one, 1. And you're just going to continue that way all the way around, doing 2 and then 1, 2, then 1, 2, then 1. I'll go ahead and finish that up and I'll come right back. Okay, so I'm going to do the last ones on camera too, just to remind you that even though it looks like this is a stitch, it is not. So we do 2 into the next one. And then 1 into the last stitch. And then we're going to slip stitch to join into the top of the first stitch, which is this one right here. Yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop on there. And there you go. Now, as you can see, it is curling a little bit. That's usually a sign that it's not going to lay perfectly flat. And I think it's, in this instance, it's because of the gauge that we're trying to work with here. It's fine. I personally do not mind that, since this is going to be a hanging basket. I mean, I'm sure the end is going to pop out anyway, so it doesn't bother me. If it does concern you, you may have to make an adjustment to the size hook that you are using, but don't worry about it. All right, now we are on to round 4. So for this we will chain 1, okay, and then we're going to do 2 half double crochets into the first stitch again, which is the same one that we just did a slip stitch into. And sometimes you do have to kind of do that, like put your hook through 1 or 2 at a time versus the whole 3. All right, so now we have 2 in that stitch. The next 2 stitches, we will just do 1 and 2. So in this round, it's so this stitch has 2 half double crochets, 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, and then you just repeat around, which is what I'm going to do now. So 2 into that one, 1 into the next 2. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just continue around until I'm done at the end. By the time you're done with this round, you should have 32 stitches around, okay? I'll go ahead and be right back. Okay, so I have finished this round. To join, we just again slip stitch into the first half double crochet. Yarn over, pull through, and pull through that loop as well. All right, on to round 5. So we just chain 1, do 2 half double crochets into the first stitch, and then in the next 3 stitches we're going to do 1 apiece. So we do 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. So we're just going to do that all the way around. I will go ahead and show you a couple of times here. So 1 and 2 that one, 1 and 2 that one, and 1 into this one. And make sure you go under both loops. Okay, and then again 2 into the next stitch, and then 1 into the next 3 stitches. Okay, and just continue that around. By the end of this round, you should have 40 stitches if you like to count your stitches. I'll go ahead and continue that, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I finished that up. Again, we do not go into that one. If you keep track of your stitches, you should not have any problems. If you know, you go 2, 1, 2, 3, you should be fine, because you'll see that. And but if you're good at reading your crochet work, you can kind of see. You see how like you're gonna see that seam right there. Basically, we're not working into that. All right, so the last part of this round is to just go ahead and do a slip stitch into the first half double crochet, which is this right here, that one. Yarn over, pull through. There we go. All right, and now we're going to do round 6. This is the last of the increase rounds, unless you decide to make yours bigger. All right, so we're going to chain 1. We're going to do 2 half double crochets into the same stitch that we just slip stitched into. So right where that, you can just see that's where it's pulling on. So do 2 into there. And then for the next, in the next 4 stitches, we're only going to do 1 half double crochet into each one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. stitch, 1, next stitch, 1, next stitch, 1. So you see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 individual ones there. All right, and we're just going to continue that around. So just do 2 into the next stitch, and then into the next 4 stitches, just do 1 half double crochet each. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and continue that around, and I will be back at the end of this. So I finished up all of the stitches. All we have to do to close this round is just to yarn over, or to do a slip stitch into this first stitch here. So we just put the hook under those 2 loops there, yarn over, pull through, all of that. There we go. All right, so that was the last increase row. If you want to, you can lay that flat, and then you can see how far how wide it is. So again, it does not want to lay completely flat, which is fine. So this is about 4.5. Let's see, am I actually going over the middle? Yeah, it's about 4.5 inches, a little bit more than that. 4 3/4. So if you want it to be a bigger hanging basket, you could just keep increasing in the same manner. So you do basically do 2 into the first stitch and then increase that number. So we just did 4 individual ones. The next row, if you wanted to increase, would be 5. So you do 2 and then 5 singles. But for this basket, this is the size I wanted. So, all right. But you can, of course, adjust according to what you need. Now, for the next round, we are going to chain 1. And then in the front loop only, we're going to do a half double crochet into each stitch. Now, the front loop only, again, as I mentioned before, this is worked inside out. So when we're done, we're going to flip it to where this is the right side because of this pretty, I think this side of it looks better than this side. However, if you decide that you like this side better, work into the back loop, but my pattern, work into the front loop only. Now, we did just go into this stitch, so we will have to kind of work it out. So you have to kind of slide it over. We're going to yarn over, and then you're just going to go into the front loop of this stitch. This is a little hard to see on this one, and you may have to use your fingernails to kind of pry that open. There we go. Okay, so we're just doing just the front loop. So we yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. I'm going to show you again on a stitch that you can see a little bit better. All right, so you can see there are, when you look at the top of your work, you see these little V's here. You're just going to be working into the first one. So it's the one, when you look from this side, it's not this one down here, but it's the very top one. So again, we're going to yarn over, front loop only. Normally we would go through both loops, but not for this pattern. All right. And then we're just going to keep doing this all the way around, and you should have 48 stitches at this point. I should have mentioned that before we started this round, but that's what you should have. Now it does look like there's a little bit of stretching because you are pulling one loop. It all works out in the end, but I will go ahead and just continue doing 1 half double crochet into each stitch here, into each of the front loops here. Now remember, don't do one in this back one, okay? I'll come back and show you. So I have finished doing the last half double crochet into the front loop there, and as you can see, I did not do one into there. That is not a place for the stitch to go. If you did, it's not a big deal. You'll just end up with an extra stitch, but it's fine. So don't worry about it if you're like, oh no, you don't have to rip back. It's fine. All right, so to join this round and to join all of the rounds, we will do a slip stitch. Now I'm going to do a slip stitch into both chains. Don't just do it into one. Okay. And it wanted to turn on me, so there we go. Okay. Now for the next round and for the subsequent rounds, we will be basically working even. So what does that mean? Basically we're going to continue to chain 1 to step up, and then you're just going to do 1 half double crochet into every stitch around. And so you should always have 48 stitches if you need to count, if you feel like you've got off somewhere or something like that. 48 stitches. Remember, the first stitch goes into the first stitch that you do the slip stitch into, which I actually went in a little bit too low. So you go into where you did there. I went in a little low in that stitch, but so we go there, just the same spot that you did your slip stitch in. Okay, and then just keep doing that all of the way around. You could do this in a spiral if you want to. I actually like the way that it looks when you do each round like separately. So this is round 8 that I'm working on right now, and we're going to do this for a total of you're going to go up to round 25. So you'll have, what's that, 18 even rounds. But so basically use a row counter. We are on row 8 right now, and then just or you don't have to use a row counter. You can just, what I usually do is just, honestly, I just tick a little thing on a piece of paper when I get done with the round. So go ahead and just continue to do that. It's going to be the same as we've been doing. When we get to the end, you will do a slip stitch to close, and then you just keep on going. I will go ahead and do all of this off camera just because it does take a little bit of time. If you don't want to actually keep track of your stitches or your round, or yeah, if your rounds, what you do is from this one where we worked into the front loop only, which was, it's not this round that we're on now, it's row 7 or round 7. From here to up to where you would be at the top, it should be about 6.5 inches from right there to the top of round 25. So I will go ahead and come back when I have reached there. So I just finished up round 25, and here's what you have. It's essentially just a flattened basket, but it should be in this sort of shape. This is what it should look like. Let's go ahead and start the handle. So all we need to do is just chain 1. This still in this part of the pattern does not count. So the step up chain does not count as a stitch. So we will go ahead and do 1 half double crochet into this first stitch, the one that we did the slip stitch into. And then in the next 9 stitches, go ahead and do 1 half double crochet as well. So basically for a total of 10 stitches across. And I guess you didn't really need to see me do all these 10, but that's fine. All right, and then go ahead and just count just to make sure. I think I did an extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so no, that is how many we needed. So now you have 10 stitches. The last part of this row, is to just chain up, chain 1 and turn. Okay, so I know we've been working in the round before, but now we're working flat. Now we're going to just do, for this row, this is row 2, we're going to just do a half double crochet in each stitch, including the first stitch. Again, the step up chain does not count. So we just go half double crochet and then half double crochet all the way across, and you should still have 10 stitches completed when you're done. I'll go ahead and do this row. Okay, and this last one goes here in the top of that. It's a little, it wants to turn away from you on that last one there, but there you go. All right, and so if you counted, you should have 10 stitches still. And then again, chain 1 and turn. And that is the end of the round. Now we're going to do this for the same thing, rows 3 through 8. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be back to show you what to do next. And I will say this, if you want to make the handle longer, this is the point that you would do that. So if you need to make it shorter or longer, go ahead and do that. I am making a handle that should fit around a 1-inch bar. So if you want to make it, you know, for a 1.5-inch bar or something, you will need to add, you know, a couple of rows or so. I'll be back when I'm done with row 8. I just finished row 8, so this is what you should see. Basically, you should see the back of your basket if you did the same number as me, same number of rows as me. And so now what we're going to do for row 9 is do the buttonhole placement. If you are changing your button configuration or you're losing one button or something, this is the row that you will need to adjust. So to get this started, we're going to do a half double crochet into the first stitch and the next stitch, chain 1. We're going to skip 1 stitch and then do a half double crochet in the next stitch, and then 1 half double crochet in the next 3 stitches. The yarn gets away from you a little bit. Now we're going to chain 1 again, and then we're going to skip the next stitch and then do 2, like 1 in each. So 1 there, 1 half double crochet there, and 1 half double crochet at the last stitch, chain 1. And then we'll be turning here in a second, but there you can see your buttonhole placement. Okay, and then if at this point, if you want to, go ahead and check your buttons and make sure that they will fit through. You want to make sure that you didn't make one that's too small. If you did, let's say you want bigger buttons or something, you could theoretically just take, like, so instead of doing these 2 stitches here, this one and this one, you could just do another chain. So you do chain 2 and then just do 2 and then chain 2 and skip that. But it's whatever you need to do. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and turn, and that is the end of row 9. And then row 10 is actually your last row. So what we're gonna do is just do a half double crochet across. So we're gonna do a half double crochet here, half double crochet here. So you can see, got one there. Then we'll do a half double crochet in the space, and then a half double crochet in the top of the stitch. So when you look at the stitches, the spaces are kind of, they don't stack up right exactly on top. They're kind of over to the left. So just keep that in mind. Just basically make sure that you have 10 stitches across when you're done. I know sometimes working into the chain space, just because of the way crochet has a tendency to kind of slant, can be a little bit, you know, can be confusing sometimes. All right, so there you go. And now we're going to chain into the, or half double crochet into the chain space. And then in the next 2 stitches, or the last 2 stitches. And at this point, just make sure you have 10. I will always count just to make sure, because I know I have a tendency to add a stitch somewhere, especially when you have those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so now we're just going to go ahead and bind off. Tiny scissors. I'm going to leave a little bit longer. And cut. And there we go. Now we just need to turn it inside out, because this, I mean, if you want to use this side, that's absolutely fine, but I designed it to, I prefer the other side. Okay. So there is what you are looking at. It's kind of hard to get in this frame, but so there's what you've got. Now we're going to be putting the buttons on. So for this, if you needed to use like sewing thread and a sewing needle, that's fine as well. I will be showing you with this this yarn. I'm going to go ahead and cut two roughly 12 foot, or excuse me, not 12 foot, 12 inch lengths. Don't cut 12 foot lengths, because that's crazy. And there we go. So that way we just have what we need to sew it on with. You could actually just use one. It's whatever you want to do. But I'm going to go ahead and thread my needle. Now with this yarn, you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like there. It's got like stuffing kind of in it. That's probably the nylon, if I were to take a guess. But anyway, there we go. So now we have that threaded, and we are going to go ahead and just determine the button hole, or the button placement. Now, if you have stitch markers, that will work as well to help you do that, but you don't really need them. What I usually do, and I probably should go ahead and leave that in, but I'll do that later. You just make sure that you want this end right here, or this, you know, the end of this flap to sort of to line up here. I actually like it lining up with these, with the holes, but it's whatever. It's whatever you want it to be. And then what I usually do, I know it's maybe a little hard to see, is I just go ahead and put my needle in there and then pull that out, so that way I know where I'm going. And what I do, so it looks, I'm going to just attach it right here. So I loop that around. I'm going to go ahead and pull that through. It is quite tight when you have the thread on there as well. And then if you want, what you can do before you actually finish up the placement is, I'll show you that in a second. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out just a little bit more, then go back through there. The other buttonhole. This button only has two, and I don't think these have to be so secure that like they're never gonna move, but you know, you do want them to be secure, because you will be, you know, if you're putting anything heavy in them. And then I like to go in and do it at least twice. This yarn is pretty sturdy, so you don't really have to, but you can. So you can see I'm doing that there. And this is tight. You may have to wiggle it a little bit. Okay. And then go back through. And more wiggling. And then I am going to go back in, because I'm actually going to hide, I'm going to weave in the ends for this on the inside of the fabric. So I will be bringing this yarn back in. So you can see I have 2. Now, before I actually sew this up and weave in those ends, just go ahead and make sure, pull it tight, and then go ahead and make sure that the button is placed where you want it to be. So you can see there, these edges line up. That's what I wanted to do, is just make sure that like I didn't skew it over too far. This fabric, I mean, it's got some give to it, so it's a little forgiving, but you do want to at least try to make it line up. Now, go ahead and do that, and then we're just going to do the same thing for the other one, and I will come back when I've done that. And but after you put the buttons holes in there, you'll go ahead and weave in your ends, and you should be done. I'll be right back to show you what it looks like finished. All right, here you have your basket. Again, I know like it's a little weird looking here because of the shot, but I'm going to show you what it looks like hung up here in a second. But I just wanted to show you what it looked like a little closer up. This basket is ready to be hung and to be used. I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like right now. All right, here is the basket in use. I just wanted to show you with some items in there. These are just brushes and combs and things. I really do. I love this. I love it so much. I may be biased, but I think it's great. It's very handy to have, and it's just really nice. You could even do, if you did the buttons in a different color, it might look slightly like a face, but that's okay. And I just am into it. It's a nice depth. It is kind of rounded at the bottom right now just because of the points of the brushes and everything, but you can't really see it from my angle, and I'm pretty short, so yeah, I really like it. I mentioned before this is part of a set, and I'll go ahead and I'll talk about that now. I just wanted to give you a little look at what they look like all grouped together if you wanted to make the whole set. Yeah, I really like them. They're great for keeping items that you normally would have out, but you don't want just sort of laying around. I've obviously got some face cloths. These are some hand knit ones that I made. Wiping, cleansing cloths, eye makeup remover, things like that. And then some brushes and combs, just things that I do need every day, but I don't want just to have laying there. And also I think these look a lot nicer grouped together like this. Everything looks nice and clean and tidy. Obviously I'm using not the aqua one for this middle one, but that's just my personal preference for this particular bathroom. But yeah, you can, change it up. You can make them in the same color, whatever you want to do. But I just wanted to go ahead and show those to you. If you are interested in getting the pattern as a set, not just the individual patterns, please go ahead and check out my Ravelry page. There will be links in the description bar as well as on the website if you're looking at my website. So, as always, you can find the individual patterns for free on my website, but they're not downloadable, they're not PDF, and I did go ahead and put a PDF version up on Ravelry. So, and there's a small charge just for the extra work on that. But I hope that you guys really like these. I absolutely adore them. These are perfect. I had this towel bar that I never used. I didn't have anything on it, and these are absolutely perfect for this space. So I hope that these work for you. Please let me know what you use them for, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.